Okay, so it's been a while since I put out a video. I think the last one I put out was about the end of November. Had a couple issues since then. I dislocated a bone in my foot. It's called cuboid syndrome. Made it tough to walk for a couple, 3 weeks. I still got a little bit of pain down there. And in that process I also caught a cold, so haven't been able to talk. And it doesn't do me much good to talk about anything if I can't talk about it. So finally getting over the cold. I'm still a little bit hoarse and the foot's a lot better. But anyway, I haven't been sitting around doing nothing. I was going to show you some of the things I've been working on. Just basically pretty much all 3D printing. I'm not doing any metal casting or any real pattern making of any kind or anything else. Just been sitting here in front of the computer making things up and watching the print. So I'm going to show you what I got going on and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is just a sample of what I've been playing around with. Started out, I wanted to make a worm gear, so I'll start with this one. Show people how to design and make a worm gear and drive unit. So here's the gear, 60 teeth, 60 tooth gear. Here's the drive unit. And the base and everything else I just kind of drew up and said looks close enough. So it just sets in there, and if I can get everything lined up properly, and that's about there, and there you go. Okay, and you just rotate this and everything works. But to get to the pattern, this would be as cast teeth. So here's the pattern for it. And pretty straightforward, simple pattern. I did move the web to the center rather than the outside, like I had on the other one, just because that was easier to print, and I printed this in 2 halves, as you can see here. Got a follow board for it, so if you're building a pattern, I probably shouldn't talk about this stuff too much. I'm just trying to show you what I did. Anyway, so here's the pattern, follow board, and the drag core, or the core print. And pieces you would need to make them. These are your gear and drive teeth patterns, and how I'll show how to cut those out. And the one tool you need to make to cut the teeth. So that'll be in a future video. This is something I made for my wife, actually for me. We made some chicken and dumplings, and we wanted something. We normally just use an upside down butter knife to cut the dough. She makes it about 1/8 inch thick, and you cut it with a knife, and I said, well, that's kind of silly, let's make something, and that way I can cut them into the squares I want. Added a separate ring, replaces the center section here, and I can cut them in narrow stuff if I want to. Going over here, layout for me in a pattern is always important. So a casting like this one, you'd make a layout of it, and then you'd have to figure out, coordinating with the foundry, how you'd want to part it and where you'd want to part it. So I will go through that a little bit too. These could be future videos. And one of the books I got, I was trying to figure out a way to show a good follow board for a more complex part. And that was this one. And the old book I got, it's a 1942 book for pattern makers. Let's see if I got it here. It's this book. I have a habit of going on to eBay and finding old books. You can see it was, let's see, original copyright date was 1923, and this is a 1941 version. But anyway, it's got a lot of stuff that an apprentice at the time would have to go through to make different patterns, cover lathe work, follow boards, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So it's pretty good. Just some things I marked off in here. But I like old books, and sooner or later these old books aren't going to be around anymore and people are going to need them, so I bought them. This is one of the patterns in the book, and in the book they showed how to make it like this, and then you'd give it to a foundry guy and he would have to put it however he wanted to mold it and cut a parting line. So me looking at the pattern, and he said, well, let's make it a split pattern. So you got the pattern split like so. Build a follow board for it. That would be the drag side. Flip it over in the mold. That goes on there. This is the cope side. You ram up the cope. And you aren't cutting parting lines every time you turn around. Another thing I did was, I think some of you have probably seen this already, cope and drag flasks. Got your bottom board, cope and drag flask, but the one thing I didn't really show that I wanted to show, there are other parts of a flask to make things work. So if you got a pattern, say a loose pattern, sometimes you need a deeper cope or drag depending on it. So you make a ram up flask, so that would be either bolted or screwed or clamped to give you a deeper cope or drag. Sometimes you need a different type, so you end up with what is called a cheek. Cheek goes on like so. You ram up your drag pattern, turn it over, put the cheek on there, ram up the cheek, cut a parting line if you need it into the cheek, put your cope half of the mold on, and then you got the cheek. And it's basically a three-piece mold. I made a bunch of other stuff. Let's see if I can get this cleaned up. Other stuff I did to make things in my life easier is, since my hand isn't as steady, I wanted to do videos on layout work, and this is all stuff I made for my wife too. Way to make lines, just added magnets to this ruler, so I can put that there, draw a straight line if I need it. Like I said, this just makes life easier for me. That goes there, and then from there I get carried away. Okay, so I made some stuff for myself. Basically, I wanted to do some demos on layouts if anybody's interested. May put it out, so I made some typical drafting stuff for whiteboard. My wife also uses whiteboards where she works, and she works with kids, so I made all this stuff for her too. But basically, you got your triangles, 45 and 30. You need the way to hold it. I made a straight edge, so I can do short straight edges, a longer one, and I made some centers to get all this to work the way I wanted it to. So let's put a center here. Most of this stuff I got duplicated already for use in the pattern shop. So if you're working on plywood, you line that up like so. Then you take your dividers, which would be here. And I made this set of dividers so it'll hold a marker or pencil or whatever, and basically you take this edge here, that's the center, line up the little tick marks on it and put that there, lock this in place, swing it around over here, take another center, and that goes on that line like so. Then you take your pen like so. Oops. lock it in place, tip off, and then you can swing an arc if you need to get a lines way up there. Swing an arc. Oops, going to be a little bit longer. And okay, can swing an arc way up there. So, and like so. And then you can extend your line out. Take your straight edge, go from that line to that one, there, and now you got a square line, and you know it's square because these centers are equal distance from here, and you mark it out. So this isn't a layout lesson, this is just kind of showing you why I made these things for. So now if you want to go up there and do a circle from there, and you can put this piece here, that is on there. We'll just pretend it's in the center. And of course you got to have a tram stick too, so here's my tram stick, and if I want to draw a circle, this end is adjustable, the other end is fixed. If I need to draw a circle, put that there, and now I can draw a circle here, and I don't have to worry about anything. If I got something down here where I got to go off of this center, I can go like so. Get everything the way I want to, and actually draw something out decent, because my hands aren't as steady as they used to be. And you cover it up. So you got a couple of different centers, and for scaling things on the computer, I didn't want to use anything metal on my computer screen. So these are Harbor Freight calipers. I took the metal rod out of here for a depth gauge, put a magnet on the back, and now I can, if I take and zoom in on like a top view, if I want something in particular, I can zoom in, scale that. If it's something that'll fit on the screen actual size, I'll measure actual size, decide how big I want it, and decide what the scale is. And to find out what scale you do that, divide the smaller number by the bigger number, and that's basically the percentage you got to scale it to. So that's pretty much it. Made a bookmark, made it a little thicker, so I got a little tiny short ruler. Of course, none of this stuff is accurate. Not meant to be, it's just for demonstration only. Gives me a way to get radiuses on things, so if I need a radius in there, I can put you in about like so, and put a radius in there, and get whatever I need out of it. Just for demonstration. But those are the things I've been working on since I haven't been moving around too much. And last thing I did is made a cap for my drink of choice, whatever it may be at the time. In the summertime we get a lot of flying insects. I'll thank Thingiverse for the models I got off of their website. I don't know who they were, but they did an excellent job, and I just scaled them to the size I needed. I just built this one. It's kind of sort of looks like a brick pedestal, but it goes on top of my drink. In this case it happens to be orange juice, and goes on glass, keeps the bugs out. We don't obviously have them now, but it does work in the spring and summer and fall. So that's what I've been working on. If there's something you want to know about any particular job I had down there, let me know and I'll get on that. And that's it. So I will talk at you all later, and you have a good night.